Hi, I'm Heidi Meinzer, and I'm currently on the board of the APDT, and this is a video for Train Your Dog Month. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how to find a kennel or boarding facility for your dog. So the first thing you want to think about is what is best for your dog. You've got to look at what options you have and what kind of dog you have. Some dogs are either high energy or don't necessarily get along with other dogs, get too nervous staying outside of their house, or maybe isn't always comfortable with strange people. For those dogs, probably a kennel or a daycare or boarding facility isn't right for you, and you want to look into something like having somebody stay over at your house, in-home pet sitting instead. But if you have a dog like Tank, then you can take a look at some facilities where maybe they can play with people or other dogs, or have other options where they stay away from home and stay at a facility. So you also have to look at what kind of boarding facilities there are. Some boarding facilities have daycare and play and off-leash time with other dogs, and so you want to make sure your dog would be okay in that setting. There are other facilities that just have kennels or rooms, and they're not going to have exposure with other dogs. So make sure that you know how is he with strangers, how active is he, does he get along with other doggy friends. Once you decide what is best for your dog and you understand your dog's needs, then you want to do your homework. You can start to ask for referrals and recommendations. You can go to veterinarians, trainers, other professionals in the area, of course your neighbors and friends. The one thing you really want to do is to actually visit the facility. There's nothing better than getting your eyes on the place and really seeing what exactly is there. You can also have a list of questions that we'll go over. I'll give you some ideas of what to look for and what to ask when you're there. And you want to do a little bit of research about the facility after the fact too. So when you are at the facility, some of the things you want to look for with the company and the staff is how long the company has been in business in the first place. You also want to look at how many employees they have and how many staff are dedicated to the care of the dogs. What is the ratio between the number of dogs at the facility and the number of staff who directly care for the dogs? You also want to know a little bit about the training and experience of the staff. They may have different types of backgrounds with things like pet CPR or training or other types of experience, history, certifications, and you want to get as much information about the staff as you possibly can. You also want to know, is somebody there at the facility 24/7? Or at least is there a way that they are monitoring the dogs 24/7 via camera or other way if nobody is there overnight? And you also want to know, how is the facility going to contact you and stay in touch with you if there are any concerns or emergencies while you're gone? As far as the health and safety of the dogs at the facility, there are many questions you can ask, including what vaccinations do they require? Certainly rabies vaccinations would be required, but they may also require other vaccinations like Bordetella and other vaccinations and immunizations. You also want to know if your dog has medical issues. How do they handle medical issues and giving medication to your dog? And if there is a veterinary emergency, they need to have a protocol in place to be able to contact you and to get the dog emergency medical treatment right away. So you'll want to ask them how they handle those situations. Also, think about any other types of emergencies or evacuation plans that they may have. A very organized facility will let you know exactly what they have in place if there's a flood or any other type of emergency where they need to move the dogs or evacuate the dogs from the area. You also want to ask them whether any dogs have ever been injured at the facility or have escaped the facility and how they handled those situations. When you're inside the facility, you'll get a clear idea of how it looks and smells. Does it look and smell clean? That's probably one of the single most things that will be evident to you when you visit. You can ask them about their cleaning protocols and their cleaning products. You want to look at what the floor surface is made of. You want a material that the dogs can move and play on that isn't going to constantly be a drain on their joints. You also want to know where do the dogs stay and ask to see the areas where the dogs are kept overnight. And you want to know about the climate control and ventilation in that area. When you also want to look at the outside of the facility. The dogs should have access to the outside. The outside should also be clean and carefully kept. And there should be an area where it is fenced and secure for the dogs to get out and romp around, or at least some paths and things where the dogs can go on walks while they're on leash. In any event, either a secure facility or on leash and staying safe, but getting exposure to the outdoors. You want to also know a little bit more about how they're going to care for your dog while the dog is at the facility. You can ask whether the dogs are on a schedule. Some places have dedicated nap time, walk time, feeding time, and you can ask about what their schedule looks like for the dogs. You want to know whether you provide your own food and treats or what they provide, if they do provide the food and treats, and if you have any special concerns about your dog and your dog's diet. You want to make sure that you communicate that and they're able to handle any dietary issues that your dog may have. Also allergies, whether your dog has any food allergies or allergies to anything in the environment, and make sure they know how to handle that situation. You want to know what kind of bedding and sleeping arrangements that they have, and whether if your dog has a special pillow or toy or anything else, if they're allowed to accommodate that. You also want to know, do they groom or bathe the dog? Some places will bathe the dog once when you come to pick your dog up, and you want to know about that. You also want to know what happens if they have an incident where a contagious illness breaks out. What protocols do they follow, and how will they communicate that to you? Any good facility is going to have documentation and contracts and things for you to sign and look at. They should have a good intake form because they need to have a way for you to communicate whether there is some particular concern for your dog, be it allergies or special food or any other special needs that your dog has. They need to give you the ability to fill out care instructions and know if there's anything like the special toy at night that will make your dog stay better. You also want to make sure that you give them written proof of your vaccinations, and you'll sign a written contract with them. If the facility doesn't have a written contract, again, that's another kind of a red flag that you want to watch. You want to make sure that they communicate very clearly to you and that you communicate to them what each of your obligations are to each other in a form of a written contract. You also should be able to have a place where you provide information about your veterinarian and any specifics about veterinary care, including they may ask you, and it is a very good thing to have in place, how much money you're willing to authorize for veterinary care in your absence in the event that something comes up. There may also be certain consumer notices. In Virginia, where I live, boarding establishments actually have a very specific consumer notice that they have to give about emergency veterinary treatment. They need to let the consumer know that if it is their negligence, they are on the hook for any emergencies, and they have to, whether their negligence or not, they have to get your dog to an emergency veterinary facility in the event that there is a need for your dog to be seen. You also want a very detailed breakdown of costs and prices. A lot of these facilities will have add-ons, extra treats, extra walks, extra bathing, whatever it is that you might like, but you need to know up front exactly what each of those things are going to cost you. As far as researching the company, even after your visit, you can do a little extra research to make sure that the facility and the company are up to snuff. So you can look at whether they are an established company with an established legal entity like an LLC. For instance, in Virginia, you can check with the Virginia State Corporation Commission to see what their status is for their entity. You can see about and ask about whether they have a business license, whether all their permitting and other state or local requirements are met. And you can also ask about whether the company is licensed and bonded and insured. If the facility that you choose, and if your dog is appropriate for a place that is cageless or offers off-leash play or doggy daycare during the day, there are some particular concerns that you want to watch with those facilities. You definitely want to know more about the ratio of dogs to staff in each play group. You want to know, how do they assess the dogs? A good doggy daycare or off-leash facility is going to have an evaluation process to know whether they even want the dog, whether the dog is even appropriate for that setting. You want to know what kind of play groups they have and how they make the determination for the play groups. You want to know whether they use food or toys during play. It can be inappropriate, and there can be issues that arise with using food and toys, so you want to know what their philosophy is on that. You also want to know about the staff experience, if the staff who are actually working one-on-one with the dogs, how much experience they have, whether they have any training background, and how much they know about animal behavior. You want staff that is very experienced who can step in when they see dogs getting aroused instead of letting a situation build to the point where they have to intervene. And a good, knowledgeable, experienced staff will know that. You also want to know if there is something that arises where they do need to intervene between the dogs, how will they do that and how frequently does that happen? You also want to know if they are aligned with positive reinforcement-based training and whether they have any dovetailing with a training department or training staff to work with them on dog behavior and positive reinforcement concepts. Before you drop your dog off to the boarding facility, there are a number of things you can do to make your dog stay better. One thing that you can do is make sure, again, that you have all your vaccinations and everything up to date and have documentation of that. You can also train your dog to perform certain behaviors like loose-leash walking and accepting grooming from strangers to make the facility's job even easier. You also want to work on crate training with your dog so that if the facility uses kennels or crates, the dog is already quite comfortable in that scenario. And then make sure that you pack some of the special things that will make your dog very comfortable there. It could be your dog's favorite bed, a toy, a treat, anything that will make your dog stay very comfortable. The bottom line is you want to know and respect your dog's needs. You want to do your research about the facility and actually go there to take a look around and see if it's what you expect. And then prepare ahead of time with your dog to make the stay as stress-free as possible.